Hey y'all, welcome to Other Realm Studio. I'm Paula and I'm working on this painting of Becca today. I got a good start on it yesterday and I worked on it a little bit more since then, but I'll work on it just for a little while tonight. I've got to get to bed earlier. Let me see. Anything else I need to check? I should have all the chat show up in one box. So I'm streaming on Twitch, YouTube, and on Facebook all at the same time. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see. Where to begin? It might be the most interesting today to work on hands, although I really don't know. Hey Deborah, how you doing? Like currently I have hands that look a bit like kindergartner painted them in. So I need my pen. I think this nib is going to last maybe one more session if I'm easy on it. And let's see. I'm trying to keep in mind the proportions for the entire figure, which is a little bit difficult when you're like zooming in, working on a tiny piece at a time, which is what the point of all this scribbling in the first layer was about. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth with the hands and readjusting. Partly because hands are just that tricky. But I have done a good job on hands in the past, so there's no reason to think that I won't do a good job on them now. The trick is to remember all the joints and that there are straight lines in between all the joints. And then you have different gestures depending on the person. Come to think of it, I think this hand is going to be tilted a bit more. So I can take down this part across the back of the hand and grab my paintbrush. This is going to be the angle of the back of the hand, and then the rest of the fingers are going to follow. So it's going to flatten out and be a more natural gesture. And also there's a lot of color variation. Maybe not quite as much as there is in the face, but there's also a lot more muscle and bone to keep track of. So I'm only going to run this one until 9:45, and I mean it this time. Really. I do. Oh, I need to check the proportions of this hand. Hang on. Need to zoom out. Okay, so, interesting fact. Your hand is from the heel of your hand to the tips of your fingers the same size as your face. So if you don't have the hand big enough, it's going to look a little small and a little weird. And I bet you just measured your hand against your face. So anyway, fun fact. Hands are almost always bigger than people actually draw them at. And especially when you're drawing men, it's safer to actually draw them too big than it is to draw them too small. Women's hands, you can almost get away with it a little bit. But you can't draw all your characters like that. Okay, so this is going to follow this way. Okay, so that's already looking much more natural and closer to proportion, although it is kind of fudging where that elbow belongs. Like the elbow should be right in here. And in order to make that look believable, then I have to put, hang on, then I have to put a pretty significant fold right here in the blanket. So if this blanket is folded and creased across a little bit before where the elbow should be, then it'll make it more believable that there's an elbow in this space here. And of course, you know, I'll have to do the shading and round out the edge of the arm. But currently all these folds are just roughed in, and I haven't really decided for sure this is where they belong. Okay, I'm gonna work on the other hand. Let's see, now this one, the elbow's in the right place already. And you can see that this is the base of the thumb. But there's going to be some gesture here with the thumb out. Let's see. Let's back out of that bit. Let's see, what was I working on? I'll need to zoom in on it. Okay, base of the thumb, wrist, to the back of the hand, which is not exactly a triangular shape, but it's more like a triangular shape than anything else. And then across the first knuckles here. Well, so the first finger leads the gesture for the rest of the hand. So let me paint over some of this so that I have a little bit of room to work. This finger's going to come out and then it's going to curl back in. Yeah, like you do when you're petting something. And then the second finger is going to be a little bit separate. Let's paint that back in. I think it's about safe to fill in that thumb. Let's see. And of course this finger is going to be a little longer. Remember, they all taper towards the tips. And most people, their ring finger is essentially, or well, their pinky finger is essentially tied to the ring finger. And you need to watch for this thing that I did just now. Don't curve the lines of the fingers. Fingers don't curve. These joints bend, but fingers do not curve. And let me turn this. Rotate 90. Hey, that works. So sometimes when you're working with something tricky, it's a good idea to flip your perspective on it. Now you can see from the corner of the screen, I did not actually change the direction of my picture at all. It's like you take your paper and you flip it around. So that's really handy. I appreciate being able to do that. So I'm trying to catch up with everything that I need to have done, and learn from my mistakes and straighten up things so that the next time I run a Kickstarter campaign to do a project, I'll be able to do it better. I already have a list of things that I really should have done, and that was after I thought I had everything accounted for. This could be shorter. It could. Because the angle at which this is tilted is not entirely realistic. Well, let's see if it gets any more realistic when I smooth those out, because that might be affecting it. I think it could definitely be narrower on the pinky finger. Let's take that down just a little. Okay. Okay, this is working out well. This first knuckle here. It's where it belongs. This one, not bad. I may have to look at this one again on the ring finger. Hands, y'all. It wouldn't be so bad if they weren't so expressive too. So you're really cheating whoever's viewing your art, or whoever's expecting your art to tell a story, if you just hide the hands every chance you get. Alright, let me fix this view. Reset. There it goes. Still not quite so sure that this pinky finger needs to be that long. Like really, you could shorten it by this much and add the shading back here. And of course you can see that the fingers are curved and pressing in, so that's going to have more to do with the Colt contours when I get into his shading and stuff. But so far it's not bad. And I'll just block in where I want my shading. I was looking over my script for issue 2, and it's at 26 pages, and I remember that I stopped there, and I was going to let that set for a bit. Because I wasn't sure whether to move on to the next scene or not. And I think I should. I think it will be probably 28 pages. Of script. Let's see. I'll do this. So probably 28 pages. But it's going to depend on, a minute. It's going to depend on what the best place to close that chapter would be. So each of the issues in the series is set up pretty much like a chapter in a book. So 10 chapters isn't a lot for a book, but 10 issues is a lot for a comic that's a mini-series rather than an ongoing. So I hope I can pull it off, really. I mean, the writing shouldn't be too difficult, but since I have the whole thing plotted out in mind and outlined on my document. Let's see. I think I can take this down a bit too. So, yeah, this is going to look weird until I get the lines for the knuckles and the fingernails in. Can't be helped right now. That's detail. Detail comes last. So, it's almost done. It's just, well, the whole series is almost done. It's just, or planned, scripted. It's just being able to get the art done. And if I was doing all the art myself, I would not get it done. Ever. Because I'm in this constant state of improving, yes. That's a good thing, mostly. But I'm also in this constant state of taking apart what I've done and redoing it. Every time I improve. which, yeah, it's very useful for improving more. It's not very useful for getting things done. So I have enough distance from Mia's art that I love everything that she makes. So when she completes a piece for me, then I can accept it's complete. And I know she has high standards for herself as well. So if it's good enough for her, it's good enough for me. We all agree. It looks good. We're satisfied. Let me undo all that right there. Speaking of never getting anything done. All right. It was this angle. Yeah, where was I? Over here. So I love her work and I'm excited to see more of it. I've gotten my pages back that I just finished coloring again because I take things apart and I redo them. I've gotten those back from Wes Loker and I'm really excited because we're so much closer to getting all the files just ready to go, including the bonus pages. Let's put this over here. So we're still on schedule. We're still going good. It's 9:45. I gotta go. I want to do more on this. I really shouldn't. I promised I wouldn't this time. Frantically scribbles. Well, at least we fixed the hands and they look like human hands. Thank you so much for keeping me company. Please check out my website, www.otherrealmstudio.com. Check out my Kickstarter. Is there a way for me to... No, I can't. Yeah, there's no way to really cross-post on all the links. You can look at my previous live streams for the link, because I gotta go. I'm sorry. I didn't even get to do the horse. But we'll be back. Let me back out of this so you can see. And anything else I need to keep up with. On my other screen. No, I'm good. Yeah, check out my Kickstarter and see if you would be interested in this story. And I'll see you in the other realm. Good night.